and it was just unwatchable. RG3, you were there.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, we have talked about this before on the show. The Jets' defense and special teams, they have to play beyond perfect for the Jets to be successful. You look at their winning streak on that 3-game winning streak, Zach Wilson only had 1 touchdown pass. So when you turn the football over 3 times on offense, it's not going to help you. But, Jeff, I really felt bad watching the offensive line. Zach Wilson was holding on to the football for so long, and the numbers speak to it. When he was holding the football under 2.5 seconds, completed 91% of his passes, right? 0 sacks. When he was holding it longer than 2.5 seconds, 8 sacks, only completed 48% of his passes. So I even go even further into that, Jeff, because 6 of the 8 sacks, he held the football for longer than 4 seconds.
Thank you.
So if I'm the offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett, my job is to organize the game plan to get the ball out of Zach Wilson's hands faster, because we already know, as you mentioned, Greeny, they only had 8 offensive touchdowns.
Yeah, and the whole season.
He's not going to be the reason that they're winning or losing games, but he certainly can't be the reason that they're in a hole so early.
And when they've had success with him this year, we've seen it. We've seen them scheme those quick throws. The Chiefs game, right? Well, I mean, I know they didn't, but I mean, that was one of his better games in terms of the way he performed. So you have to see that. I think, they got away with one last week against the Giants, an ugly game that I still haven't fully scrubbed from my memory, unfortunately. But they come in last night with an extra day to prepare, and you're thinking of it like this is it, like this is what they came up with for the Chargers. They have to be better than this scheme-wise. They have to be better than this in terms of protecting the ball. They have to Robert's point, they have to be just about perfect in every area to overcome the deficiencies of the quarterback, which I just don't think are. We're just not going to get to a point this year where those are all wiped away.
We have to be fair, because I remember a couple weeks ago, for the last couple weeks, I've been listening to people on this set and other places saying we need to let Zach let it rip. Let's give Zach the ball.
He didn't rip
let
though.
Zach
He's
throw.
waiting 5 seconds.
Well, I mean, that's what happened when you give him a bunch of times to pass. They gave him more autonomy. It seemed like they were doing this no-huddle stuff that they thought would help him. But the problem with doing no-huddle and hurry-up is then you have more plays.
Yes.
And the more plays that you give him, there are going to be things that go wrong. And honestly, what do you expect from Zach Wilson? The point is, everyone around him kind of didn't live up to what they had to be, and the point you made. They have to be perfect or better than perfect, and they weren't.
I was told there'd be no math when I came to work here, but if I add up the throws, I'm pretty sure we're around 57
That's a lot
throws.
of throws.
Now listen, the game got out of hand late, but early on, why are we if you have Breece Hall in the backfield and you have got an extra day to prepare and your defense is supposed to be what you're writing home about, why are we throwing? So listen, you are playing to your weakness, expecting it to be a strength and wondering why you're scoring 8 touchdowns in the season. It makes absolutely no sense. Okay, Salah has done an incredible job of keeping this ship together and guys on the thing. But from an offensive perspective, they are doing the worst to Zach Wilson by forcing him in. And again, the game got out of control late, so you got to throw it. I get that. So it's going to be skewed to a degree. But early on, this game isn't out of control, and you're not using Breece Hall. That's your own fault.
Yeah, 100%. And to an offensive line perspective, we always talk about giving those guys help. If you watch those highlights, you just saw tight ends trying to block, backs trying to chip. They could not protect him. Tui Pelotu, Joey Bosa, and Khalil Mack were on a whole nother level last night. And the Jets' offensive line just couldn't handle it.
Let the record show that this was the resistible force against the movable object.
One of the worst
the
pass
Chargers,
defenses in the league.
I believe, were 32nd in pass defense coming into the game. So I think the Jets thought to themselves, this is the game where we can do this a little bit. And what they found was their pass offense is worse than the worst pass defense in the National Football League. So where does that leave one?
I mean, they're halfway through the season, and I think that the National Football League season, it reveals itself, right? Like, we can feel good about the Jets for 3 weeks, but there are 18.
Right.
and so, so eventually, water finds its level. And I think what we're seeing with the Jets is this defense is fantastic, right? Like really, really outstanding. Even down 14-0 real quick, they're still keeping them in the game. They get a field goal, then you get the ball to start the second half, and you can kind of talk yourself into it. But over the course of the season, this is going to show up. If you're going to lean on Zach Wilson, it's going to show up. If you're not going to be able to feed Breece Hall, it's going to show up. And I think that where that leaves the Jets, to your point, is kind of where we thought they'd be after week 1, after that horrendous, Aaron Rodgers injury, which is, on the outside looking in as a contender.
Look, they're on their second quarterback. Robert Sala's on at least his third beard.
Oh, yes, he
I don't
is.
know what happened to his beard. What happened? I mean,
It looks magnificent.
Troy Aikman said on the telecast, I can't believe it hasn't turned gray watching this game. The question that's going to be asked is, should they be considering going to a third quarterback? Should they be making a change at that position now? They have Trevor Siemian on the roster. They have Trevor Siemian. Robert is shaking his head no. No, the quarterback is not. That's not going to solve anything.
If Trevor Siemian is going to save this team, it'll be the first team that he's ever saved. So
I get it.
You might as well go ahead and run forward with Zach Wilson. You understand what you're in for. And Aaron Rodgers is on the field telling people that, he might be back in a couple weeks. So who knows?
The one thing that we've learned from this season from the Jets is that the emotional impact of Aaron Rodgers, like the emotional tie to this team matters.
Sure.
So I would not be so quick to say they shouldn't ever turn to Trevor Siemian, not because I think Trevor Siemian is so much better than Zach Wilson, but I do believe that there may come a point, and there came a point last season, where everyone looked around and the team kind of started to fall apart because they felt like that guy could not lead them. So maybe sometimes it's just like, hey, here's some new blood. This is another reason to go out there and fight because you know the guy that you have.
I would agree with that if I laid everything on Zach Wilson last night, but that was not just Zach Wilson. You know what I mean? Like, no, to your point about the truck, but I'm just saying, I would say with the Mike White situation, they felt like he was the only thing that was holding them back. Right. Like, this is not he's the only thing.
You can't. Fair.
Your best guys can't fumble the ball. You can't not give your best player the ball a number of times. Like you're doing everything to put this guy in that position to go win games, and asking him to do something he can't do.
That's my exact point. And it sucks being a quarterback in times like that.
For sure.
But what else are you going to change? I'm not arguing that you can blame it all on Zach Wilson. And I'm not saying they should do it this week. But if they lose a couple more games, you can't change the coordinator because Aaron loves him. Right. What else are you going to do? You can't bring in another
He's not going anywhere.
Teach Lazard to catch.
At some point, you need to be able to walk into the meeting Monday morning and say, guys, we got a chance this week. You know why? Trevor Siemian. I mean,
when you coming back, man?
He laughed at him.
Yeah, so look.
Derwin James laughed at him.
So
Thank you, Derwin James.
Here's what I can tell you. People ask me all the time, why do I keep saying December 24th? My son was texting me this morning. Why are you saying? Because that's what he thinks. I'm not telling you what's going to happen. I'm telling you what he thinks is going to happen. Okay. Aaron Rodgers is throwing 50-yard passes on the field yesterday. I firmly believe that he firmly believes that he'll be able to come back and play this season if there is a season to be worth saving. Yeah. The Jets have to win games. They've got the Raiders next week. That suddenly doesn't look like quite as easy a game as it might have looked a week ago. One way or another, they need to win games, and maybe Aaron Rodgers comes back.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, Aaron Rodgers believes a lot of weird medical stuff.
Let me just say,
I don't know.
Let me just say this to you about Aaron Rodgers. Quick story. When I went to Green Bay, and he, in his warm-up throws, there is more velocity on that football than any quarterback I had ever. And when I tell you it has a different sound, that dude could, without either Achilles, he could go throw that ball 70 yards. The dude is different. His arm. So don't let the 50-yard throw be that impressive to you. I mean, don't ride just on that how far he can throw it. He can spin it no matter what. So.
Don't doubt Aaron Rodgers.
I'm hoping.
Man needs a goal. And I think when you have a goal, it helps you to get up in the morning and motivate yourself.
Sure.
He has a goal. I'm not sure that deep down inside
he's going to reach his goal. He and Greeny, he's going to reach his goal. Greeny's going to break that out of the glass and be wearing it.
Greeny, don't doubt Aaron Rodgers. There's a chance that he comes back. If he believes it, he's trying to instill that into the team, and that's all that matters.
Well, 100%.
That's to his credit. The team has responded to this, whether it's true or not.
Last year, what we were dealing with, the reason why the team fractured wasn't because that the offense was so bad. It was because the offense was bad, and we weren't getting quotes like that. We're getting quotes from the quarterback that was saying, like, oh, yeah, not really on me. That's the problem. I think taking responsibility, that always goes well in the locker room. You go in, you say, my bad, we'll do better. That'll buy you a couple of weeks, but you're actually going to have to do better in order to hold this team together for the rest of the season.
Yeah, the margin for error is so minimal. When your best player, this was not a Zach Wilson loss. Like, everybody's going to bring on the table. They asked him to throw the ball 57 times, right? And I know the game got skewed at the end, and it always does. But come on, man. Like, you have Breece Hall back in the back. Look at Pittsburgh's been outgained every game they've been outgained by about 100 yards. They find ways to win. They don't find it by asking Kenny Pickett to go throw it 60 times, right? Like, find ways to win. With Zach Wilson, it's not letting him throw it 60 times. You got a guy, Breece Hall. Garrett Wilson can't put the ball on the ground. They can't give up touchdowns. I understand it. This was not a Zach Wilson loss. This was a team implosion offensively, and it was tough to watch.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. And Dominique, your point about how last year it was so bad is because you could pinpoint the quarterback is not playing at a very high level.
Right.
Now, what Zach Wilson can get better at here is not holding the football for so long. You know, we have this graphic of Zach Wilson holding the football longer than 2.5 seconds, completing 48% of his passes, and gave up 8 sacks. 6 of those 8 sacks, he actually held the ball for longer than 4 seconds. But anytime he throws it under 2.5, he's completing 91% of his passes.
Yeah.
So I look at this, Jeff, you talked about the running game. This is not a team that you want to have to throw the football 57 times. Right? But they also can't run the football. They also can't protect. They had backs, tight ends, everybody. Everybody in the mountain was in the pocket trying to max protect Zach Wilson. They couldn't do it. So what I would say schematically for Nathaniel Hackett.
Can't protect.
It's a lot. It's a lot, right? It's a very bad situation.
Not a lot left.
But they have to use the short passing game to replace their running game. If you can't run it and you can't just turn around and give it to Breece Hall 25 times because you just can't run block, use the short passing game and then take those shots down the field. That's how they have to do it.
But as Troy Aikman pointed out on the telecast last night, he kept calling them the layups. He misses those sometimes, Zach Wilson.
He does.
Look, the Jets, one of their major problems is that the people who are creating their problems have perfect job security, right? I mean, Alan Lazard cannot catch. He's not going anywhere. Nathaniel Hackett, major question marks offensive coordinator. He's not going anywhere. Zach Wilson, they have not taken they've not at any point when they could have made a move to bring in another quarterback. They could have done it in the offseason. They could have done it when Rodgers got hurt. They could have done it at the trade deadline. I'm watching Joshua Dobbs running around. He's never even met his teammates, and he's winning games, and we're sitting here with this garbage. So what I'm trying to say is that they're not changing the things that are happening right now, and that's the frustration you feel as a fan.
I will say this. It seems a bit like we are making excuses for Zach Wilson and that saying they shouldn't put so much pressure on him. But I will say this. If you can't throw the ball against the Chargers, what are you going to do? Like, you're arguing that they should have run the ball more. No! The game plan against the Chargers is not run the ball. It's exploit their weaknesses in their pass coverage. And if you cannot exploit those weaknesses, whether it's because you hold on the ball too long, you can't protect, your receivers are fumbling, then that is on you.
But your weakness as the Jets is protecting the passer. So it's like which way are we going to go?
That's the point.
Which way are we going to go? You can't say we're going to go attack their DB. Oh, well, we can't protect our guy. Like you got to.
Well, that's the point. As I said earlier, this was the movable object losing to the resistible force. We figured out which bad is worse. It's our bad against your bad, and the Jets' bad wound up being worse than the other bad. So where does that leave us?
In trouble. I mean, I think it's a team that would like to fast forward to next season with a healthy Aaron Rodgers and see if they can make this thing work. Unfortunately, you don't have that option. So what can you do in the meantime? Like, you as a coaching staff, this is where you earn your money. You get in there and you try and work on solutions. What can we do? What can we lean into? And last night it looked like they designed a game plan to take advantage of the 31st ranked pass defense in the league, and they forgot that they can't pass.
Yeah, and lost in all this is just how well the Jets defense actually did play. But we've always talked about how they have to play beyond perfect to be successful. Justin Herbert did not play very well. He got sacked 5 times in this game, and the Chargers defensive line ate the Jets' offensive lineup for breakfast, dinner, and lunch. You're talking about Tuitu Pelotu had 2 sacks. Joey Bosa had 2.5 sacks or 3 sacks. And then you talk about Khalil Mack going out there and getting 2 sacks. So it was unbelievable that the Chargers in a must-win game for them showed up. I don't care if it was the Jets' offense. They played their tails off. They need that love.
It was interesting for me. The punt return for a touchdown, I was like, it's a wrap. And you should not feel like that as ever. But when they scored, I was like, ooh, it's a wrap.
You were right. They only got 6 points.
It's not going to happen.
Like once the Chargers had 7.
Jets, I mean, the Jets need plays like that to win. If you're going to have those on the other side, they have really no chance. They're going to have to be perfect on defense and special teams and not turn the ball over on offense. They did all that, and they're just not going to win. They're not built to win. They're not talented enough to win in that way offensively.
Look, the most depressing thing as a fan, and anyone who watches this show knows that I am, is that I found myself watching that game saying, why would Aaron Rodgers come back to this? Like, I believe he can. I believe he thinks he's
You were
going
in
to.
a dark spot.
And no, I really did. I'll go to a dark room with him. I found myself thinking, why, if you're watching this, their offensive line can't block anybody. I mean, literally can't block anybody. Part of that is due to injury. Why would he come back to this?
Well, he's not going to be holding the ball 4 seconds. I know that. If he does come back.
One way or another. He said to Derwin James on the field, I won't play it for you here. I don't want to waste the time. But he said on the field to Derwin James after the game, give me a few weeks. I'm telling you right now, he believes he could come back and play this year.
He is.
Yeah. But
going to.
For the longest time, I thought the Jets are Aaron Rodgers away this season from being a Super Bowl team. Watching last night, I just thought to myself, no, they're not. There are so many other holes. The offensive line is so bad. They're just not.
This is a new low for Greeny, man. He's broken.
I'm low.
I will say this, though.
I'm broken.
We've seen in Miami and other places where there are deficiencies in the offensive line. There are deficiencies on the team. You find ways to generate. So I don't want to let Nathaniel Hackett off of the hook.
No one is letting him off the hook.
They have NFL players on that team. Yes, the offensive line is bad. They have an outstanding receiver, a couple of really great running backs, a tight end that can make plays, and a quarterback that has some arm strength and athleticism. Find a way to make it work. Like, you need to be able to generate some sort of offense better than what they are doing. Dropping him back in the pocket, asking him to be a conventional quarterback, that ain't gonna work.